The red light is blinking, and you guys can't tell because this is the all audio podcast return to 3 Minute of Babyface. I'm your host, URI's Kaiser Soze, and guess who's with me? The clan is back. Sound off, guys. I got my man Sonic Nerd in the building. Sonic.
Hey, 4K to God back in the building.
4K to God. Real talk. You should change your gamer tag.
I think that's my new name. That's my big announcement in 2018. I am now 4K to God.
Oh, 4K to God. Deal.
I'm a juggler.
No, but real talk, you should change it so that it keeps your gamer score, though. But you can change it once for free. Change it once for free. Yeah. Also with me, my frat brother. His name is Neo Gotenks. Y'all know him as Joe L. Joe, what are you playing right now, man?
Yo, what's good? I'm playing everything that's on Xbox. Long live the
You are
Xbox.
a liar.
You're not playing much of anything, then are you?
Okay, Xbox will rise from the ashes. It will rise from the ashes in glorious 4K.
The Micro Phoenix. Microsoft the Phoenix. And of course, Sonic Nerd. Oh, I'm sorry, 4K the God's cousin. That'll be my man Smooth B25. What's good, Smooth?
It's a me, Mario. What's going on, guys?
He's back, and he's rejoicing because 2017 was his year. So why don't we go ahead and, all right, guys, so we all got together because we want to talk about Game of the Year, right, Adam? What do you want to talk about? What's your plan for today's show?
Yeah, Game of the Year. I know we all had some different takes on that, and we know Sonic, whatever he played last is his Game of the Year, so whatever he's playing.
So real talk, real motherfucking talk. A little while ago.
You can to dig.
No, Sonic. About 25 minutes ago, you asked me, you were like, hey, you guys been playing Titanfall a lot, right? And I'm like, yeah, we have. And then like 2 minutes later, you said, Titanfall is my best game of the year. I'm pretty sure like my number two game.
This is how I know. See, this is what we're doing in 2018. We're not listening. Is that what we're doing in 2018? Because I
only if it's on Trump's Twitter.
I said if that game came out in 2017, I would put it in my top 3 or top 2. But it didn't.
It just supports Smooth's whole argument, man. It just supports Smooth's whole argument.
All right. Well,
it was like, what was I just talking about 20 minutes ago? Titanfall. There it is. Part 1.
Let's get into it because I feel like I have a very, very hot take about my game of the year. So let's get into it.
All right. I'll start off with the guy we've heard the least from. Neo, why don't you go first, man? You want to give us an honorable mention before you drop the bombshell on us? Like, what game, besides your game of the year, what other game you want to real quick throw a shout out to?
Look, man, Final Fantasy 13. I know that it's been very divisive.
What?
But that game looks amazing. It has one of the best engines. They have been able to make several different type game modes. I've gotten a lot of burn out of that game. I think that it's convoluted because that's how Final Fantasies go. But in terms of diverse gameplay, man, that game has it all.
Wait, hold on. This is the 2017 Game of the Year, not 2009. That's when Final Fantasy 13 came out. So I assume you're talking about Final Fantasy 15.
Honorable mention. I'll give him a pass.
15, yes.
I'll give him a pass for honorable mention.
15. I'm sorry. 15.
I thought we went in the time machine for a second. Hold on.
15.
Well, but actually, hold up.
My man is ready with the flowchart.
But it doesn't matter what you say, he's got a response.
Games, I mean, if we were going back to 2009, I might pick out, something else in the GameCube era or something else. I don't know.
Hey, have you guys ever worked at a help desk where they give you like a script and they're like, hey, if this person says that, this is how you respond? That's what Smooth has got on Neo. He's got he's got the script ready for whatever Neo says.
I feel like Smooth has gone to the future, got my responses, and he's like ready with the reply.
I mean, I'm surprised to hear about that game because I thought that was still like an old school. I don't play the Final Fantasy game, so I'm going to totally sound ignorant right here. But I thought it was still like a turn-based RPG. You know what I mean? Where the sprites were just standing there dancing until it was their turn to do some crazy-ass move. And then it cuts away to a cutscene.
Not at all. It's completely different. It's
okay.
It's all like active time battle. You're fighting real time, 4 people. It's all
right, color me ignorant.
It's pretty
fair
cool.
enough.
More pixels.
All right, so what was your game of the year? What was it then? For 2017, this last year that passed.
All right, so I mean, I don't want to reveal my game of the year, but I will say that I bucketed.
Well, what do you mean?
Because
this
the
isn't
game
the
of the
teaser
year
episode.
show.
But
This is the episode. This is the one.
I can't show my card so that you guys have the whole episode to trash my thing. Let me work up to that. I would
Join us next
All right,
time.
fine.
Where he gives us his
All right,
game.
well let me move on.
Damn.
Let me move on
Damn.
to Sonic. Why don't you give us the honorable mention? We'll do the honorable mention show first, and then we'll see if we'll come back around, see if Neo's got his balls back, and then we'll keep it going. We'll see.
Okay, so honorable mention. I didn't actually think about an honorable mention. I was gonna go in for the jugular, but if you
That's
want,
next
I could
one,
go. That's the next. Okay, well, so there were a lot of great games I played this year. As you guys know, I play pretty much everything. I would say my honorable mention for this year would be The Evil Within 2. That's a game, like, as you guys know, Resident Evil 4 was one of my favorite all-time games. And Smooth,
Number 3 on my
agree
list.
with me.
Number 3
Yeah,
on my
like,
list.
Smooth,
All
you
time.
remember, like, way back in the day, we used to play, we bought the Wii edition. So that was the first time we played Resident Evil 4, and we played the hell out of that game. Well,
Yeah.
Evil Within 2 gives me the same vibes as Resident Evil 4, and I think it does a lot of things better than Resident Evil 4. For instance, the horror factor is turned up to 11 on Evil Within 2. I think even more so than Resident Evil 7, to be honest with you. And the fact that you could upgrade your weapons just like Resident Evil 4, it's got the same over-the-shoulder perspective. It's got a cool stealth mechanic, awesome bosses, a surprisingly good story. I actually thought that was a really good game and one of the sleepers of the year because I don't see many people talking about it. So I would say Evil Within 2.
I like that.
It sounds good on paper, but you also said the same thing about part 1, which I bought because of that recommendation, and I thought it was trash.
And you played a whole 22 minutes of that game. Don't lie.
Oh.
You barely played that game.
You didn't even hit the
barely
26-minute mark.
And you know what?
Called out.
And you know what? I'll say another
for about
thing.
2 hours, and then
You played barely, and I think one of your complaints, if I remember correctly, was that it was too difficult. Was it not?
No, I thought the controls were kind of clunky.
No, that's the excuse. That's the default.
The frame,
Yes.
frame rate was kind of
I
choppy.
loved it.
That is always the
Like I was
default
playing
excuse.
a PowerPoint slideshow.
Oh man, the controls are so difficult. I just can't play this game anymore.
Bam! I've been hearing this all my life. It's like he won't admit when a game is difficult. He's gonna just say the controls were clunky, the frame rate wasn't 60 FPS. Like, what is it next, man? Like, just admit that you couldn't get through it because you have no patience.
Tell me, are the controls bad in Nier 2?
No, they're good.
Oh, yeah. What's up to Nier?
So
All right, so
my complaint
sorry,
with
sorry,
Nier is that there's no there's no checkpoints until like the first 3 levels. So even if you beat the first boss, you're on the second level, you die, you gotta start all over again.
So you're openly saying that you need a millennial mode. Just say it.
I need to put it to Neo mode, where you just sit back and watch the story, press a few buttons, a few quick time events, and the game is over. So I mean, you know.
Oh my!
I tell you what. With Evil Within Part 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I do expect it to be better than Resident Evil 4. I mean, we've all played Resident Evil 4 recently, so it makes us feel like the game's... I mean, that game is over 10 years old. It's an old-ass fucking game. So I hope that, Evil Within has improved on that old formula.
Well, yeah, but even, like, I get that nostalgia sometimes gets in the way of our judgment of certain things, but I was surprised that Evil Within 2 was able to live up to that standard of quality, because, like, several games have tried to replicate what Resident Evil 4 did, and they failed.
Yeah.
But Evil Within 2, I think, surpasses what even that game's vision, Resident Evil 4's vision was.
Wow.
So, that's not to say Resident Evil 4 is knocked off of my list of one of the greatest games ever, because it was one of the first to ever do it.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the innovation was there.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that would be...
I'll piggyback off of that mine is Resident Evil 7. Mine is between Resident Evil 7. I mean, we already did a whole show where I talked about it, so I won't go into it. But I thought that game was scary as crap. And if Neil's going to talk later about gaming experiences, that was the best gaming experience I had this year. Well, I legit was frightened for 15 hours of my life.
Ace, let me ask you a follow-up real quick. Did you play the DLCs to Resident Evil 7?
No, and I'm looking forward to that. That was kind of the whole thing. Was I didn't want to play it back to back. I kind of wanted to step away from it, look forward to coming back to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm going back. Are they good? Are they worth it? Should I be excited?
So it temper your expectations and understand that you're gonna get a very, very different experience. Like
That's
they
horrible.
definitely, yeah. Well, no,
What a way to sell it.
I wouldn't say it's bad.
That's horrible.
I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just not the same. It's not exactly the same experience as the core game, which I think is good actually for a DLC. I think that's good. They're experimenting.
I mean, I'll say that because go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, does it have loot boxes? Because that's the real question. That's what people really want.
No loot boxes.
Ooh,
none. There's no loot crates at all.
I've literally been postponing on that game after playing the demo. The demo literally scared me shitless. Like I would only play during the day with the curtains open, with the sun shining. Like
I did the exact opposite, man. I only played in the middle of the night with all the lights off, and I mean, I was legit scared, man. Scared for my fucking life, but I enjoyed it. I mean, that's the point.
That was a great one.
I mean,
yeah.
I would go as far as to say I think that's one of the better, if not best, game demos that I've ever played. Because the game demo played literally almost like a mini full game.
Yeah, and also plus a whole other show on best demos.
Okay. So we'll come back to that. All right. And the other one I would mention, I guess, is actually no, that's all I got. Let's pass it on to Smooth. Smooth, what do you got for your HM, man? What's your honorable mention?
Honorable mention, it's gonna be Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Because I've never played a game in that genre before. I didn't know what to expect. I bought it because I had credit in the eShop, and I was evacuating Florida during the hurricane, and I was like, let me just download this on the way up. And I put more hours into that game than Odyssey, than Splatoon, than a number of other games that I bought, because the combat just was a lot deeper than I expected. Strategy of it was like playing a chess match. The humor, I mean, it was a great game. Definitely one of my top ones for the year.
You got that DLC coming out, that Donkey Kong DLC coming out soon.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it as well up until World 3, which is where I stopped.
And that's one of the best. That's the best one of the games, too.
I know. I feel like that's a hard game to leave and come back to, because
I agree.
I couldn't, because it's a very tactical game that you have to rely on the core mechanics, and you have to have like a very, very good understanding of them to get through it. And if you don't play that game for like 2 solid weeks, you're going to forget a lot of the tactics and a lot of the mechanics. So I kind of got out of it. I fell out of love with that game. But from what I played, I actually enjoyed it. The first 2 worlds are really, really cool and inventive. And I hope they make more. I hope they make a sequel.
I'm really surprised that the game came out, to be honest with you, because I thought that genre was all but dead. I mean, the last game that I played was Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm hoping that, maybe they come up with a part 2.
I mean, what I'll say is I didn't realize that this was. I've never played Final Fantasy Tactic, and I didn't realize that XCOM. That's really what this is. So we can't say that this game has died. XCOM is around, and that's really what this is. And XCOM is huge. I just think that that's not. We're not really PC players, and RTSs and those tactic games, I think, are more for the PC crowd. But as someone with no type of exposure, totally underexposed to that strategy type game, I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But there is a huge learning curve, and that's the biggest. And to make it worse, there's no online play. That's why I can't put it in my top 3, because without online play, I'm forced to only be able to play the computer, or I'm teaching my girl how to play it just so I can play against somebody. Like, really, that's what I need. I need someone to play against at this point, because I love it.
Nintendo.
It definitely would have benefited from online mode. I mean, I know they recently patched in local battle mode, but I mean, if they would have had online ready at launch, I mean, that could have been game of the year. I mean, that game was really, really, really good.
I think there's definitely layers to it. I definitely respect what it's about, and I think that. I mean, I just haven't played anybody else that's at my skill level, and I would love to see what that's like. It's like I compared it when I was talking to Neo about it to the game of chess. Yeah. Like, chess is a great game, but you have to know what each piece does, and it's not like you can just, hey, sit down and let me teach you how to play chess.
Yeah.
You're not going to have fun that first time because they're just learning the pieces. So Yeah, you have to play it for a couple weeks, but it's a great game. It's a great game. It's just
Yeah. And you know what?
How do you
You
say
know
this?
what too? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that it's not indoctrinated, but it's like ingrained because of the genre. It's just a hard game to get into. The learning curve is huge, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, facts. And another thing too is if you guys remember Ubisoft's E3 in 2017, they had a big stage show presence to unveil this game. And apparently, the guy who's really like the brains behind this game, making it happen, this was a passion project for him. I think at one point Miyamoto came on stage, and then the dude started crying. Like the guy who like pretty much created the idea for it started crying because like this is like a dream come true for him, to make this game a reality. And apparently, it took years to finally happen. So like this game has a great story. And I think it sold well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Smith. I think it sold pretty well for it being a new IP.
Well, I mean, Nintendo only has such a catalog, you know what I mean? And then the fact that unlike the other games with Mario, this game was on sale. You know, like I bought this for $29.99 on Black Friday. You're not getting Mario games under $45.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is an Ubisoft game, so it's Ubisoft pricing. But all right, so we hit all the HMs. Let's go around the block, and I'll leave Neo for last because Neo he's defensive right now. I'm gonna start with Smooth. Smooth, let's get into it, man. Your game of the year, and something tells me that it's gonna be a PlayStation 4 title. What is it, man?
You guys might be a little bit surprised, but actually, before I go into my game of the year, because it came
out, such a tease.
I mean, it came down to two games really, and you may be a little bit surprised, but it came down to Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. And if we were rating game of the year based on number of smiles and laughs playing a game, it would have been Mario Odyssey, because that game, from the moment I started to like time I beat Bowser, and then even the end game stuff, which had me through the roof. I mean, that game was really, really, really fun, and I had a smile on my face the entire time. New Donk City has to be probably the best level ever.
Amen.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But my one complaint is that it was over too soon, and all it did is make me want, Odyssey 2, Mario 64 HD remake, and all of the above.
So you got all 1,000 stars? Is that what you're telling me? Or moves?
With 680 something.
Well, you're not done then. What are you talking about, dude?
I know. I
got 600 in like 3 weeks.
I got to the Darkest Moon, and then I just started playing.
I thought you hit Endgame. I got you. All right, well, tell you what, man. I mean, that's my game of the year, too. So before you go on Breath of the Wild, that is my game of the year. And that's not a surprise to anybody. My favorite game of all time is Mario Galaxy. Mario 64 is probably up there as well. And this takes all of that. And this is the thing is, so Mario Galaxy took it to the next level. Because Mario Galaxy was like Mario 64, but they brought in gravity. And they played with gravity the whole time. And I was like, how do you top that? There's nothing else left here for platforming. And somehow they removed the gravity thing. And so what I'm getting at is I wasn't as excited for this Mario as I have been in the past. Like I knew it was coming, but it wasn't like I pre-ordered it months in advance or whatever. And still, being as excited it is, being my favorite franchise of all time, I was still pleasantly surprised. This is the best Mario ever. The graphics, it's Mario Galaxy. No, it's not the best Mario ever. Sorry, guys. I'm passing it. I'm going to pass it back to Smooth B25. I'm speaking too much here. This is me on my cognac, all right? No. Mario Galaxy's still that shit. Why don't you tell us about Breath of the Wild, Smooth?
Breath of the Wild, man. What can I say that hasn't already been said? I mean, this game just changed the game. When it comes to open world, open air, go anywhere, do anything, things that make sense in the real world that you think would never work in a video game just work. When it comes to the weather elements, the fire, when you're climbing a snow mountain and you throw a snowball down and all of a sudden it turns into a big ball. I mean, things that, again, you wouldn't think would work in a video game works in this game. And again, the fact that you can go anywhere, do anything, the cooking mechanics, the exploration.
The cooking mechanics.
I mean, the cooking to me was a mini game within itself. I mean, there are times when you play another game and you need kind of a palate cleanser.
Cooking.
Hey, you play, something to calm you down, something puzzle game. But the cooking, to me, like Zelda had its own built-in palate cleanser. So it's like after beating a divine beast, you have this high, and it's like, man, how do I calm down? And it's like, oh, let me collect this and cook that. So to me, I mean, 250 plus hours into this game, hands down, changed the game of the year.
Okay, so where do you put this? Where do you put this in the pantheon of all the other Zeldas? Like, where is it? The best one yet? Top three? Where's it sitting?
Oh man, that's another podcast for another day, man. That's tough.
Okay.
As much as I loved it, definitely my game of the year. I don't know. Ocarina of Time is still up there too. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll save that for another day.
All right. So before I move on, is this anybody else's game of the year? Because this was like universally loved and definitely up there. I think probably the most critically acclaimed game of the year. So anybody else got that?
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't gonna put it up as game of the year. I think that it is a great game. It is a great game. It does have a lot of faults and flaws that people tend to ignore. I think I wouldn't call it open world, revolutionary with respect to open world. What I would say is that it is probably the most revolutionary sandbox game where they allow you to pretty much do anything. I don't think that they've programmed all of these combinations, all of the things that you can do, chop a tree down, smack a tree to get to another place. I saw a video on YouTube of a guy who beat the game in 40 minutes, using
41 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, just doing crazy things that I could never even fathom. I don't think that that's revolutionary with respect to open world, but it is revolutionary with respect to building a sandbox where anything is possible.
But isn't that by definition open world when it comes to video games?
No, I want to see where this is going. I think Sonic is going to have a lot to say when it comes to open world. I feel like Sonic has something building up back there.
All right. Well, do you want me to get into my game of the year?
I'm going to say my game of the year real quick because I'm going to finish off with the Mario thing. I'll say that, Zelda, obviously one of the greatest franchises of all time. We got Mario, Zelda, and Resident Evil 7. So 3 of my favorite franchises of all time all came out this year. Assassin's Creed as well. I'll let Sonic talk about that. But Mario still, what it has that no other franchise can top to me is the dynamic gameplay. The amount of different sort of gameplay mechanics that are brought out there is still, to me, why this game is special. I can one day be racing down a slope against penguins, and the next day I'm playing a platforming level. The next day I'm playing a sort of Zelda-like dungeon level. And it's like I pick and choose. I don't know how you guys play it, but I don't finish the entire world. I play like 75% of the world, then I move on to the next one. And I start bouncing around because I like the variety. I don't want to be like, I'm never coming back to that frozen planet. No, I want to come back. Maybe in a month or so, I need to come back here. So it's sort of like I'm picking and choosing what moons to go at. And again, what this does that's different from the other Mario games, it's not better than Mario Galaxy. I can't say that. But one thing it does better than that is the fact that the moons now are so much more organic. The fact that you just get dropped on the level and you just go. There's nothing really to choose. In the other Mario games, you would always say, hey, I'm going to attack this certain star. And then the level builds itself so that you can beat that certain little mini game. And in this one, everything was just so organic. The side effect to that, though, was that this was the easiest Mario in a while. Like, it took me... Yeah, it probably took me a week to beat. I'm sorry.
The main game, yes, but like like when you get to the end game, though, it can get really challenging.
Yeah, and I'm at 740 moons, so I mean I'm there. I'm hitting some hard shit. But the first 500 are a joke, man. The first 500, a Mario player can beat them without trying. But regardless, for the dynamic gameplay, living up to the franchise's name, and that's so hard to do when you're Mario. To not underwhelm me is pretty difficult, especially considering Mario Galaxy. So that's my game of the year. My number 2 game of the year, though, my man Sonic's going to tell y'all about. Sonic, tell him about this fucking game.
All right. Well, actually, so I have 2 game of the year. Well, not really.
Did you play
Titanfall 2 didn't come out this year.
Hold on.
What did you just play?
Hold up. So I have another honorable mention because I feel like it's disrespectful for me not to talk about it. But Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that suffered from the release of Zelda, because this is a game that came out, I believe, a month before or a month after Zelda Breath of the Wild.
No, it was
Before.
It was 3 days.
It was before.
So it was Game of the Year for 3 whole days.
So I just want to take the time to just appreciate that game because Zelda totally ruined its thunder. That was a really good game. It did a lot of things that Zelda does, like very open environments, vast open worlds, like a awesome sense of discovery. But Zelda does a lot of things better than that game. But I think Horizon was a technical marvel. It's gorgeous. It runs at checkerboard 4K. I mean, it's an absolutely stunning game. I encourage everybody, if you have a 4K TV with HDR capabilities, I strongly suggest you play that game. And I think the gameplay holds up really well too. It is a really underrated game. So
well, you know what?
Like my
as the PlayStation 4 ambassador, would you say that's the PS4 game of the year?
Wow, that's a yes. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would say it's probably the PS4 game of the year. Yeah. All right. So my overall game of the year, though. So like you guys know, I play a lot of games. I agree with everything you guys said about Super Mario Odyssey. I agree with everything that Smooth said about Zelda. Some of the greatest games that we've played in quite some time. But for me, there's one game that stood above the rest. And it's a game I did not expect at all to come out on top, and that was Assassin's Creed Origins. So here's what I'll say, and I might ruffle a few feathers with this next comment. I feel like Assassin's Creed Origins does almost everything that Breath of the Wild does, but slightly better. Okay?
Whoa!
Now, that's not to say...
Explain yourself!
So that is not to say that Zelda's a bad game. But I think that there is this idea that if you put a Zelda coat of paint on something, it makes it more magical. Look, I've said this on previous podcasts before, and I think Neo agrees with me to some extent on this comment, that some Nintendo properties are great, but when you slap that Nintendo coat of paint on something, it all of a sudden makes it 10 times better because it's playing on our emotion, our nostalgic emotion. So for me, as much as I love Zelda, I have to come to reality with the fact that there are games that do pretty much everything that game does, but better. So Assassin's Creed Origins.
I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Yes. So Assassin's Creed Origins, right? If I have to compare Zelda and Assassin's Creed to make the point, because I felt like those are the two best games that I played last year. But Zelda's combat left a lot to be desired. Very simple, nothing too crazy. It wasn't deep. It didn't need to be, but it wasn't pushing the needle in terms of combat for a Zelda game. Now let's go to Assassin's Creed Origins. The best combat Assassin's Creed has ever had, and arguably one of the better combat systems in a third-person action game.
All right, compared to other Assassin's Creed games, it's not even comparable. Like, it makes the other games seem like they were just button mashing.
Isn't that what it kind of was, though? So the bar wasn't really set very high to be the best combat in Assassin's Creed. I mean, come on, let's be real.
No, but...
Well, he just said it's the best of third person.
Adam is in immediate attack mode now.
I'm chomping at the bits. I'm ready to go.
Here's the thing. Assassin's Creed has, not only can you lock on to targets and parry, you have shields, you have different types of weapons. You've got staffs, you've got heavy weapons, you've got swords, you've got daggers. Understand that Zelda has all of that. But they all feel so different, and they all have different uses depending on what enemy you have, what enemy you're fighting, right? And I think, so aside from combat, it also does this great thing with the environment where, you know how in Zelda, walk aimlessly for hours and you just discover something like, oh shit, there's like a shrine here, oh there's a temple, or oh there's this, there's that. Assassin's Creed does the exact same thing. It doesn't reveal the entire map to you, so similar to Zelda, everything's grayed out, and it's basically up to the player to discover the map on their own. And it has this really cool, instead of a mini map, it's got a compass. So if you guys have played The Witcher 3, it's the same system where I'm sorry, not Witcher, Skyrim, where you've got like a compass that sits on the top middle of your screen, where it can show you icons and places of and
Yeah, but
landmarks.
dude, but I
But
think
it doesn't.
you're no, no, you're
Horizon had
totally
that too, right?
underselling one thing though. Yeah, yeah, no, no, but hear me out. Like these are Assassin's Creed tropes, right? Like we say that Zelda had the map that way. Okay, that's an Assassin's Creed trope. Horizon Dawn, the way it unlocks the map, totally, that's an Ubisoft
No, no,
trope.
no.
Okay, here's you're totally underselling the eagle though. What the eagle does is amazing.
Oh,
Like
I didn't
the
even get to
map,
that. Yeah.
yeah, the map is real time, guys. Like there's no pressing pause and then it comes up. The eagle flying above you changes the camera perspective, and you see everything. There is no vanishing point. You know, there's no. You see the entire world, man. Like you can see somebody getting robbed 4 miles away, and you'll get there and see what's happening. Like it's
Oh
absurd.
yeah. Oh, and furthermore,
It's a technological feat,
eagle,
man. It's
right?
a technological feat. I want to be clear. It's fucking
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Oh, it is. It is. So I wanna emphasize that by saying this. So you bring up the eagle, right? I've had experiences where I'll pull up the eagle and I'm really just trying to scope out like, all right, where's the next tower that I'm supposed to go synchronize? But then while I'm doing that, I find, oh shit, there's like this structure here, right? So I mark that on my map. I go to the structure and there's seemingly nothing there. And then I walk around it a few more times and notice there's a hidden entrance. I go through the hidden entrance. It's a fucking tomb. And the tomb has a whole bunch of puzzles to solve. And there's combat and there's a really cool secret there. And I'm like,
You know what's really
wow,
cool about those tombs? You know what's really cool about those tombs? So everybody knows that like Ubisoft does a lot of historical research, right? Like they get professors and shit involved. So they did a little bit of like when they did the big pyramid, they didn't do the same the path to the tomb that is known to the public. They went off some like legend that Egyptians talk about.
oh,
Well, like 2 weeks
that's
after the game came out, no, 2 weeks after the game came out, Kotaku announced that like it was real. Like basically, it was in the game before real like fucking scientists and researchers found it in the
wow.
pyramid. Like they
That is
discovered it
amazing
first.
to hear.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
share that I gotta share that story with you guys because I'm kind of misspeaking and I want to give somebody the credit that's due. There's a story in Kotaku
No.
about how the hidden entrance to some tomb was in the video game before it was actually discovered. It's pretty fucking absurd.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So that just goes to show you, though, the attention to detail in this world. There is no other open world game that I've ever played in my life that has this level of detail. I mean, dude, and Ace, you could back me up on this. How many cities are there in this game? What, like 6, 7?
oh,
And
it's
each of
huge.
them- each
Here's
of
one
them
thing that
is
very different. I mean, it's like a historical
Yeah.
lesson too. Did you know that Egypt looks so much like Rome? Like when you go to Alexandria, you're like, this is amazingly,
Yeah.
this is beautiful. This is like
Yeah.
the Roman Empire. And yeah, I love that game as well. It was a close number 2. I mean, the fact is the environment is incredible. What they did with the mapping has totally reinvented. I mean, this is the new standard. Like this is what we're trying to do here. The map is integrated and seamless. And it's really hard to understand unless you're playing it, guys. It is entirely seamless. You see everything from a click from a button. And I'll compare it. Here's what I'll say about before Adam jumps in and compares this to Breath of the Wild. What I really liked about Breath of the Wild was that it's very organic. I told you guys about the time when I accidentally killed an entire band of bandits by accidentally hitting a rock. Like I just threw my bomb out of the way, it hit a rock, that rock rolled down the hill, took out all the bandits, and I was none the wiser for it. I just looked down the hill and was like, what I just do? How'd these guys all dead? You know what I mean? So it's very organic. I love that about it. Assassin's Creed takes it to the next level. Like you really do have so many different tools at your arsenal, and there is no right way to attack the problem. And it starts with the combat where what he's saying is true. I mean, when you see one guy, it may be better to hit him with a sleep dart. Maybe the next time I decide, you know what, I'm just going to tame a lion and I'm going to run in there with lions helping me out. The next time I may run in there and just like set free some crocodiles. Next time I'm coming in with arrows on a horse. I mean, it is so dynamic. And like I said, it does have that organic feel to it. So
let me,
it really does need to get played.
so let me chime in and play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So
A little bit.
So
You.
all right, my game of the year is not Zelda, but it's damn near close, and I do want to defend it in that it sounds like Assassin's Creed is amazing, especially with respect to open world. But what I will say with Zelda is that Zelda is like the Minecraft of open world. It's like the Lego of open world, where they give you very simple things, and you can create whatever it is that you want. So for example, when you're saying those options in Assassin's Creed about letting out the lions, about letting out whatever, and doing different ways to tackle the scenario, right? Those are pre-programmed things that can happen. And I think the key thing with Zelda is that there isn't anything that's pre-programmed that can happen. There's very simple actions, and it's up to you to do whatever you want, to make whatever happen. I think
and that's exactly when I say organic. That's exactly what I mean when I say organic.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and Creed has that. Creed has that.
I feel like
that's fair.
Well, I was just gonna
Sorry,
say,
go ahead.
I feel that's what makes Zelda great, and I think that's part of the Nintendo magic. That while some people may look at this as a negative, it's a very simple game. You learn everything that you need in the first 2-3 hours. Everything that you need to pretty much complete the game. However, the game becomes this whole nother monster, this whole other world, you know?
Well, here's the deal. Because first of all, let me preface by saying that I haven't played as much as you guys. I'm only 15 hours in. I played it the first weekend it came out, and then I sold my Switch. But what you're telling me is not the way I think of Zelda. Like, it is open world, but what I would say is Assassin's Creed has figured open world out, and I think they are the best at that. What Zelda does is they have those amazing puzzles. I thought that the whole thing is the dungeon puzzles. Are we saying that doesn't exist? I don't have to figure out lighting a certain torch, and then if I hit this one, there's none of that? There's no puzzles?
No, there's tons of that. But
yeah.
I feel like that's a very small aspect of the game. The biggest thing at that game is actually, once you get introduced to the open world, actually looking, finding out things, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what makes it great too is, I know a lot of people harp on the fact that the story is not that great in Breath of the Wild, but the reality is the story is your gameplay and what you make of it, and you going through the world and making the game what you want. When it comes to the combat, yes, the combat is pretty simple, but you choose how to approach things. If you want to pick up a steel box with magnesis and drop it on the camp of, the enemies, or take a rock and use the thing to stop time and have it go at them. I mean, you can do whatever you want. So the story becomes not or less of the story they tell you in the game, but just what your experience is. That's another thing I think that makes it really, really good, because it's like you talk to different people, about their experience, and everybody has a different story on how they completed something and how they solved something and how they did whatever in the game. So it's like everybody has their own story.
Can I use that?
So I just want to say.
Go ahead.
So just to counter that, right? Assassin's Creed Origins, though, and I'm totally hear you because you're valid in what you're saying. You do create your own stories in Zelda. But what if I told you could have both? You could have a very well curated, well voice acted, well realized and thought out story, and you can create your own experiences and create your own story however you see fit. That's Assassin's Creed Origins. It gives you the option to do both. The game is so vast. Look, I don't know, Ace. I don't know if you finished Assassin's Creed, but
no,
spoiler,
not even close. No,
very
man,
slight
I'm not
spoiler.
very far.
Look, it's not even that much of a spoiler. But when you finish the game, you still have not really even seen the entire map yet. Okay, so I say that because it's like you go off and you just start wandering for hours, and you may stumble upon something similar to Zelda. And there are a ton of gameplay options to solve some of the camps that you see or some of the tombs that you find. So it's not like it's one or the other. Like Zelda, it's no story and it's all about you, what you make of it. With Assassin's Creed, it's all story, and if you want, you could just go off and do your own thing, and there's no problem with that. So that's why I picked it over. That's why I say it's an overall better game objectively than Zelda, but I could totally see why someone would pick Zelda because it's still an amazing game.
So I want to say two things, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say Zelda has no story. I mean, the story is kind of light. It's just, Ganon took over the castle, capture the princess, you got to save her. But I mean, honestly, after this show, I mean, I'm ready to play Assassin's Creed. I mean, you guys have me hooked, man. If you're telling me it's like Zelda, I want to play some more of it.
I mean, I can't tell you that it's like Zelda because I don't know what Zelda's doing, but I can tell you that as far as the organic approach to solving problems, that's definitely
yeah, and
there's so many different ways to attack a problem, and the world is vast, and it is a clean looking game, man. It is as clean as open worlds get.
Oh my God, 4K,
so now,
baby.
One thing, I guess, a question I have to Sonic being the resident graphics whore. You know, do you like it as much because you're playing it on the Xbox One X and it's in 4K? And then my second question on top of that, so this game came out maybe 6 months or so after Zelda, and a lot of the reviewers said that it borrowed Zelda. So
you don't borrow from the game.
I mean,
releasing 6
Breath
months
of the
after.
Wild. Hold on. If Breath of the Wild paved the way, and kind of set the tone, I mean, to me, that makes it the better game, and you know.
Yeah, but
I would agree with you.
If that kind of paved the way.
There's no way they built Assassin's Creed in 6 months.
That's what I was gonna say.
They built it in 6 months, but when Zelda came out, they're like, "Oh wait, we can do this. Tweak this."
That doesn't. No. Now you're taking way too much credit.
I mean, here's the deal, guys. Is Assassin's Creed has been iterative for about, for like 7 years. It was basically just adding one new feature gimmick like Call of Duty does. And then they took a year off. And the main things that happened with this year was they attacked, the way that you approach an objective is different. And the fact that the fighting has been entirely revamped. It's an entirely new combat system. It's no longer an afterthought. Like, it's a main part of the game. But besides that, it's Assassin's Creed. So these are not Zelda tropes. I would not say that. This is still Assassin's Creed, more along the veins of Watch Dogs and Grand Theft Auto. This is still close. Grand Theft Auto used to be the standard. All I'm saying is I think it's Assassin's Creed Origins now. That's where I'm at.
So let me try to chime in one last on this whole concept. So after playing Zelda, the thing that I took away from it was that Zelda's all about the experience. You're building your own unique experience. So I think Adam was mentioning something to this extent, is that every time that you finish playing Zelda or you talk to someone who's played Zelda, they have their own completely unique experience about the game. So after playing Zelda, it kind of made me open my eyes to how I evaluate what my game of the year is. Now I'm looking at it more as what is the most profound experience when it comes to gaming. Is it like an action game? Is it a great campaign? Is it a great story? And my game of the year is probably Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. That game, I've never played a game that has tackled me and attacked my senses in the way that game does, where it makes you really wonder. It was like it added, I know that we use the term all the time as a joke, but next gen audio, but that game, the audio in that game literally blew my mind. I didn't know what to do, what to think sometimes, because you are trying to concentrate, trying to look for a solution to a problem while someone is speaking in your ear and telling you things, and you're just like freaking out.
Well, I gotta say, I'm shocked. I mean, you being a person who didn't really care for indie games and always kind of scoffed at, the mention of an indie title. And now two of your favorite games of this year are indie titles, Hellblade and
Wait.
I'm completely shocked. I'm completely blown away.
No.
And guess what, Smooth?
Yeah.
That was the point, Smooth. That was the point. Remember when I said that I can guess what Neo had? It was simple. It was whatever you were not prepared for. Whatever Smooth was not prepared for was going to be Neo's game of the year. And he got you. You're just stunned. You got nothing.
Listen,
you had all these.
Him, though.
I need to defend. I need to defend myself
because he's not. Because first of all, Hellblade is not an indie title. It's a big budget game. It's just in this day and age, AAA titles.
Not to Nintendo fans.
No,
wait,
no.
I need to.
Well, true.
It was a double A indie game. I mean,
right, but it's not, because you use the term indie game to say it's like a low budget.
No, I don't.
Studio.
No, I don't.
Well, what then?
No,
what do you-
Nintendo fans mean anything that's not Mario is an indie.
Oh, okay,
basically.
then that's an indie.
If it's not Mario,
Listen. Okay, just to defend myself, the whole
like
idea.
Hellblade was still a big budget title if we're going by like early 360 day standards. But it was still
early 360 was 2009, so that would be Joel's opening game of the year. What do you mean?
Okay. But,
so wait a second, Neo. How long is this game? Like, how many hours did he put into it?
26 minutes.
I don't know, like maybe 9.
He's going online to check before he answers. He wants to make sure that he's not fucking
9 to 10 hours.
So
it's not even a quick.
No, I think Neo. Did Neo just drop the mic? Did he just say Hellblade dropped the mic and bounced?
I think he did, man.
Is that how he's living that life? Damn.
Can you hear me?
He just said it later.
Can you guys hear me?
He said they got nothing for this.
He rage quit the podcast. Wow.
Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Oh
no?
boy. So Hellblade, I finished it in 7 hours. So it's a very lengthy. It's a very lengthy indie title. Because like you would expect a game of that caliber to be. Because remember, it was $29.99 too. So it wasn't a full $60. There was no retail release. And it was $29.99, 7-hour experience. There's nothing to do after you beat the campaign. But I still thought it was a great experience. So yeah, that's actually a very good pick.
Can I?
You know what though?
I need to defend myself. Real
go
quick.
ahead, because I got some beef now.
So the whole comment about it being an indie game, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it an indie game. I mean, the reason why I got
it's from an independent developer.
Okay.
What do you mean you wouldn't call
That
it?
doesn't mean it's an
Okay,
indie game.
exactly. And don't try to argue off a technicality, right? So
Don't argue with facts. I'm sorry.
So
so what's not an independent developer?
when I got put on to the Ninja Theory, the people who made the game, was off of Devil May Cry. Because when they did the remake of Devil May Cry, which was way up there in terms of games that I played in 2013, I didn't think of them as your typical indie developer that makes a $10 game that would be on the Switch, that is 2D. It looks like it could be on the NES. You know what I mean?
I think we have a difference in definition of indie games.
Yes,
I mean,
you decide to welcome
you
anything.
think of indie games as like your 8-bit titles or whatever, whereas
not
I
at all.
don't. I mean,
not at all. Your definition of indie game becomes anything that's not a major AAA game, and I don't see it.
That's
not
my.
No, but go ahead.
So then no. Let me put you on the spot.
I mean,
how
listen,
do you define?
Here's Go ahead, Smooth. Tell us what an indie game is. Your definition.
To me, indie game is anything that's put out by independent studios, so something that's not published by EA, Activision, some of the big heads, where they have total control over the budget, what they want to put in the game. They don't have to worry about forcing in loot boxes or microtransactions or anything like that. They have total control over their game, their vision, and the budgets can range from a couple $100,000 to several million.
That's most games though. You're talking about like 90% of the games that are out there right now.
Agree.
Well, again, but again, these are the ones that are not picked up by your EAs, your Activisions, and stuff like that.
That's like 90% of games.
You know what though? To counter that game though, having not played it, all right. So from afar, 7 hours for a game, man. I don't know if I could give a game of the year. Now, when you have games like Breath of the Wild that took 3 years to make, and you have orchestras involved in Mario.
No. But this goes to what I was talking about. Most profound experience, right? Once you've played the Zelda Breath of the Wild, like I was telling Smooth this the other day, playing Zelda Breath of the Wild is like reading a book. It's a vast story, but then you can go back to the book, read it in chunks. You're still getting a book. Whereas, let's say Hellblade is like going to a movie and getting the most exciting 2 hours that you've had in like the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I agree.
See, that sounds to me, I think you're giving it too much credit. To me, that sounds like a short story. Yeah. Like those stories that are
once again
like the lottery.
This is where
90 to 90 pages.
I have no problem.
You got it all wrong.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Hellblade. I haven't finished it yet. I'm definitely looking forward to. So I'm not taking anything away from your game of the year at all. It's just when it comes to classification of indie and what's not an indie and what you used to consider a typical indie title. So that was my only dispute. But as far as the game itself, I mean, great game. I mean, no
I think
dispute.
so you guys listening at home, the next time we get on, we'll know the definition. We'll Wikipedia that shit, and we'll know what the fuck we're talking about. But anyway, all right. So that was pretty much it. I got to tell you that for the most part, the beginning of the year, I thought this was going to be a throwaway year when it came to video games. Didn't know what to expect, and it turned out to be a great year. Surprisingly for me, it was all about the sequels and like major franchises. Like I said, Resident Evil. Didn't expect anything from them, especially after Resident Evil 6. I just expected, another game to play. And I said it's one of my favorite of all time. Assassin's Creed, maybe top 2, best AC ever. Mario Odyssey, Zelda. And then we have the newcomers like Horizon Dawn that came through. But unfortunately, the other parts of this, we kind of got to be complimentary to it all. Is unfortunately the yin to the yang is there were some games that were underwhelming and that we didn't think lived up to it. And I'm going to go first before I pass it to you guys. In my case, it was Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm somebody that never really liked the Mass Effect series, but because of the hype and because of I'm much more of a nerd now than I was 10 years ago. Let's be real, guys. I'm much more comfortable with my nerd. I now appreciate things like Star Wars, and there's some games that I revisit now that I like that I didn't like back in the day. I was like, I'm going to try. I like science fiction now. I like the Star Trek movie. I like the Star Wars movies. So I'm like, I'm going to give Mass Effect Andromeda a try. This new school angel likes science fiction stuff. And before I even bought it, it was trashed by their most hardcore fans. I mean, just totally thrown away, like within hours of the game dropping. So to me, it's pretty simple. It's Mass Effect Andromeda for souping me up and then bringing me down so quickly. It's my most underwhelming game of the year.
That game got unfairly dogged, though. I didn't like it either. Like I definitely agree with you. It wasn't the best Mass Effect game, but my God, like I've never seen a community of people come together and like just shit on a game together.
So
that was the most. By the way, that was the most united the gaming community has been all year.
I feel like
we're great at uniting and
I'm gonna let you finish, but I think I have the most disappointing game of all time.
This sounds like Kanye West. I'm really happy to finish, but
go ahead. Let's go. I think that Destiny 2 is probably the most disappointing game. I think. Of
I'm surprised at that.
Whoa, wow.
Really?
I'm gonna be brutally honest because I played that game on release, put a lot of time into it. However, the community has gotten to the point where they're toxic and I think that toxicity is actually boiling into how I view the game now. Now, instead of viewing the game as what can I do every day, I'm literally checking my feed to say, what did they fuck up on this time? It is literally probably 10 times worse than what happened with The Division. And it hurts me because I'm an all-time fan, but it is really
it sounds like you need to stay off of NeoGAF, I'm just saying.
NeoGAF. You know
that's what it sounds like to me. I think you're getting gassed by NeoGAF.
You know what the problem is right now? That this is the common thing in both of these stories so far is the community. And I've told you guys this before that just get off the boards, man. Get off NeoGAF. Get off Reddit. You're not listening to the intelligent crowd. You're not listening to the intelligent 1%. You're just listening to the loud and ignorant. You know what I mean? The silent majority doesn't speak. And so, like, it gives you the false impression of what's really going out there. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Mass Effect isn't as horrible as it is. But like you said, man, they got together and destroyed that thing before it even came out. And it's happening everywhere, man. I mean, the fan base is like that in movies. It's like that in comic books. It's everywhere, man.
So here's my question. So I played through Destiny 2. I didn't think it was like I thought it was consistent with the first game, but obviously I didn't play as much Destiny 1 as you guys. My question is the microtransaction thing as bad as people say it is? Because I only understood it was emo.
So I'm gonna tell you. So the community makes the microtransaction thing sound worse than it is. However, the problem is that you can't go from a game like Destiny 1, which had 3 years worth of content, scrap all of that and start with Destiny 2 with not even a year's worth of content. So the community went from having, like I said, 3 full years, 3 like God knows how many DLCs, how many different strikes, how many things to do to you could do everything that you needed to do in Destiny in like 3 days of the week. So all of a sudden it became, well, what do I do this next 4 days? This is the game
And I
that
gotta
I'm
tell you
supposed to
that.
be playing all the time.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I didn't buy the new
Right,
DLC,
right.
and that's officially when I jumped off. So I've been playing hardcore. I'm over 2,000 hours between the two games. I've done it all, and I can tell you that that's not at all why I left the game. I left the game simply because of Bungie greed. The microtransactions. It's like Neil saying, that's just the community being loud, man. It does not affect the way people play, so it doesn't give anyone like a legit advantage. Or if it is, somebody that's played 2,000 hours has never spent a dime on microtransactions. So throw that out the window. That has nothing to do with it. But the greed, the fact that we're in like year 4 and we're still playing with like the same character models. You know what I mean? Like we still have not introduced a fourth race. We still haven't introduced like a legit new game mechanic on a planet like gravity or water. Like it's the same shit. They keep giving us public spaces like the tower where you just like meet vendors and shit. That's not what they want. And then the DLC is like 4 or 5 strikes. That's not a complete like that's not a legit piece of content. So for me, it's all about Bungie greed, man. I would jump back in a minute. I would pay $60 if they convinced me that they had a legit 200 hours for me to play. You know what I mean? Like if they had a legit raid instead of raid layers. You know what I mean? Like instead of them going forward, they took a step back. I'm complaining about the lack of content that you offer people. For exotic weapons or some shit like that.
Well, okay.
You're literally paying for like 12 new guns.
So I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I think
and then they take a step back by telling me that it's not even an entire raid this time. You're giving me a raid layer. Are you kidding me, man?
I think the raid layer is worth it. It is still that amazing experience that it's just condensed a little. But once again, I think the overall issue is content. In a day and age where you're trying to push game as a service, you can't start back from square one when you've built a community, when you've put out all this content. You cannot start at square one.
This should have just been another DLC. If it was just another DLC, everybody would have been fine. But instead they put the 2 there. I didn't even want to buy it. And then they proved my point by being so greedy towards the end. But Destiny has a great place in my heart. I just think it's over for me. I think that's it. It was a great time, a great 2,000 hours, but I'm moving on. But, one day, guys, I do want to get together and talk about video game communities because it's absurd right now, man. Like, it is dictating not just how we perceive games, but now it's affecting the way people develop games. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I want to hear from Smooth B25, underwhelming game of the year.
I don't think I have one for this year. I mean, 2017 for me was great. I picked up a lot of...
The Nintendo Switch came out?
The Switch came out.
It wasn't an Android tablet? It wasn't an Android tablet?
Switch came out, 50 plus hours, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, the Uncharted Lost Legacy. I mean, 2017 for me was a great year of gaming, and I don't think I picked up any duds, to be honest. What
didn't you not like Horizon for a little bit?
No, I put it down because the Zelda DLC dropped, but I picked it back up recently and I'm back in it, so I'm enjoying what I'm playing so far, so no complaints.
No complaints. How many games do you have from the Nintendo digital library there? All those little indie games. How many do you own?
I got a couple. I got let's see, what's the one I'm playing now? Lovers in a Dangerous World or whatever it's called.
No. This isn't a chance for you to explain and brag some more games from Nintendo. I want you to tell me how many games you have in your indie catalog. I know. Do you have 50 games? Do you have 20 games? How many games have you bought for $1.99 to $5.99?
No, maybe 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. My bad. My other Nintendo friends, they have fucking 50 indie games, and they're like, "Oh, it's fucking so awesome! Look at all these indie games." They're fucking trash, bro.
Hold on. I'd like to take this opportunity to agree with how you classified a game as an indie game. You see how you immediately said, up to $5.99. That's what I would classify as an indie game, a low budget game that is getting into. It's trying to be as accessible as possible, while keeping the cost low. A $30 game, I wouldn't necessarily call an indie game. A $40 game.
I think 30. I think it could be 30.
So So most indie games at launch, some of the mid tier ones, like $14.99, $19.99.
Oh, wait, hold on. You got mid tiers.
Hold on.
There are
Because then
levels to
you
this
have
shit.
games.
There's levels to this shit.
Then you have
That's
games
semi
like
indie. Then you go semi pro.
you got
Then you-
single A, double A, triple A indies. I mean,
There
so
you
you
go.
have games like Yooka-Laylee, which I think was $40, which is another indie game. I mean,
Talking about
made by the guys who
batteries?
made Zooey. So, I mean, there are different price points. I mean,
So
10.
Sonic, what's your underwhelming game of the year, Sonic? Let's just get to it. For just
Mine
the
is
indie
an
talk
easy
takes over.
one.
Whatever he played
Mine is
the
the
longest.
longest one. Whatever I played the 1st of January 2017. The last so I felt like this year, like Adam said, was good overall, but there was one game that I was very, very disappointed with, and that was Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's kind of an easy one because I feel like everybody was disappointed with that title.
Huh.
The campaign, I felt like they overhyped it. Like, I mean, of course, the marketing is gonna overhype it, but like, that was what everybody wanted out of the first game, and then they put it in the second game, and then we're all excited for it, and then it comes out, and it's pretty basic, and it's not that great. And then the multiplayer feels like it was built around the idea of these hero cards, which you earn in-game by grinding for hours or with microtransactions. So you know what it felt like? It felt like I was playing a mobile game. It felt like it should have been free to play, or it should have been like I don't know, like a $10 game, and then you can buy like, hero cards or whatever. It didn't feel like a complete experience. So like, and I paid $60 for it, like a sucker. So yeah, I was super disappointed by that. And then I was gonna actually say Mass Effect, but you took that one. So yeah, those two games were the most disappointing. Actually, yeah, I would say those two. And then like kinda, I was a little bit disappointed with Mario and Rabbids. I know Adam says or Smooth says it's one of the best, but I was a little bit disappointed with that game too. Only because he overhyped it too much, but that's about it.
I can co-sign that because
I think
showed
at
me
one
the
point
game.
he said it was better than Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, because like if he said nothing about it, I would be fine. I would have totally, but like for him, it was like, I think at one point he said it was his game of the year, and I don't know. So Smooth. I think he.
I'd like an opportunity to defend myself on that. So when I played Odyssey for the first 10 minutes, and then I was like, man, it's the first world. What I said was that Rami and Rabbids had more charm, and I said, hey, look, I'm only 10 minutes in Odyssey, and this may change, but Mario and Rabbids.
10 minutes. 10. I mean, 10 minutes.
But then I quickly took it back after I got to New Dawn City. So all is well in the world.
I feel like the experience is unique, is new for you for that type of strategy type game. So I think you may be rating it more than I guess what you should. Let's just say this. If you were to play another game in that same genre, I don't think it would carry as high a score. And even if a part 2 comes out, I don't think that you would give a part 2 the same kind of score.
I partially would agree. I mean that's how I opened. I said, I never played anything in the genre. I didn't know what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised the whole way through. And I put, I think I put probably 80 hours into the game, just trying to make sure I got it perfect on every level and beat everything, without losing any players. So the replay value is pretty high. And again, I did have low expectations, so I agree that did help. Boost it up.
I think it is a great game. It's one of the best games I played.
Yeah.
I would say it's one of the best games I played, but I think of it more of kind of the way I feel about Overwatch or one of these, like, it's like a sport to me. I would love, like I said, to challenge somebody else, like a game of chess or a game of, I don't know, Risk or, Parcheesi or some shit. Like, to me, it's just a fun little game. I don't take it too serious. The campaign doesn't mean anything to me. I really just want to learn. Every match, you get a new move. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like I'm still learning what tools I have in my toolbox. But like I said, I want to find somebody else to challenge. I think it's great.
Hey, next time you come to Miami, man, it's on.
Let's do it. But anyway, all right, guys, that's it. We're gonna call it quits because god dang it, we got kids and the niggas gotta go to sleep. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. We aren't gonna throw up deuces because can't nobody see us. But why don't you guys go ahead and say goodbye? I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Peace.
Later.